Welcome to the Petential podcast. Some of you have asked me to do it where, we get filmed, we get guests in. So this is a special today. We're going to be focusing on my book that's released on Saturday. And with it, it's more overcoming issues that you've had in the past. So I'm here today with Joe.
Hi guys, nice to meet you.
And Wayne.
Evening, Pete.
How's it going, guys? So basically, we're going to be talking about, a lot of people get stuck in their lives, they get issues that they're trying to overcome. A lot of people, again, they find it hard to talk about, their issues that they're facing. With me, one of my first things I find to help people is always to get space, when things are going wrong for you. So for me, that's one of the first things in the book, first chapter, get space, get away from your problems. Do any of you guys have anything, any information on that, any tips on that, or anything you guys would recommend?
I think you've got a point there with space. I think when we encounter problems, however big or small they are, I think one of the things that we don't realise is that we start to get bogged down with those problems, and those problems start to become part and parcel of who we are.
Yeah,
so we even start to form mental habits around these problems, and depending on the nature of the problem and how long we have the problem, we even start to identify ourselves with the problem.
I like that, yeah.
So what you're doing, I think, is fundamental, to separate yourself from the problem and give yourself that perspective, that different perspective. You're sort of giving yourself an outside looking in view of your own life, so you can offer yourself, that advice, but it's easier said than done.
Definitely.
It's easier to realise that these are the steps that you need to take.
Yeah.
So
I think people having their own space is just fundamental to really just discovering who you are.
Love it.
I had a lot of time to myself because I traveled quite a lot to Birmingham a few times a week, and there and back 2.5 hours, 4 hours in total driving. I had that time to myself, and I've found since I've really, the reason why I went to Birmingham was studying, but since then I go out on drives all the time because it's just it's my way of disconnecting and having some time to myself, kind of thing.
That's great.
It's likened to meditation, really. Pretty much. Having your own space is just fundamental. Definitely.
As I said, this day and age where everyone's on the phones all the time, the social media and stuff like that, I've said it in one of my podcasts, is you do need to get away from that. There's got all the responsibilities everyone puts on you, from jobs, from partners, from everyone else's expectations.
You're having that all shoved in your face non-stop.
And then you have to look this good, your pictures have to be this good, you have to make people laugh. And there's a lot of responsibility, especially when you've got your phones out all the time and you're looking down, not engaging people when you're in a meal or when you're out with friends and family.
At any given moment, someone's going to come in with a new demand. It's like bing on your phone.
Exactly. And
it's can be quite stressful.
Just on that point, Peter, if time's moving on, and as human beings, we're evolving, we're investing a lot of our energies in our work, in technology, we're doing some amazing things. Now, if we are moving forward, then why is it that these social expectations and influences are creating more and more sort of depression? There's more people feeling more unwell mentally than what they used to be, or at least it's been recorded so. If we're getting more comforts in life, our phones, we have everything at our fingertips. We can turn our heating on from work, and start cooking a meal and one thing and another. We have so many comforts, when you're driving to Birmingham, you're driving in a car with likely 5 or 6 gears with power steering. I mean,
exactly.
Only as little as 20 years ago,
That's before I'd be on a horse, wouldn't I?
Yeah, but then the mindset of them people 20 or 30, 40 years ago, if it was less comfortable, then why do those statistics show more discomfort in the modern age? And I think you have a point.
I think it's taking the micro out of the macro, really, isn't it?
I think a big problem is... Sorry, go on.
No. Go.
All right, big problem is with it is, people using the phones as a confidence reaping asset product is what I call it, a piece of crap. Confidence reaping asset product. So they're using that to get all the confidence and connection with people instead of actually, you know, that's why I feel maybe anxiety is on the rise, because they're not actually talking to people as much. So when it comes to actually approaching someone new, talking to someone new, they're so scared of doing it, not used to it. So they're missing the experience, you know, of life and of adventure and sort of being okay, you know, if you're uncomfortable. You've got to be uncomfortable in life, you know, to grow and stuff like that. And I think because everyone's always dubbed down trying to get their confidence from, you know, whatever apps you've got and stuff, from that, you're not getting any connection with your friends, with the people you love. You're not appreciating the moment, you know, just put your phone down and, you know, actually experience the moment, you know what I mean? And go, wow, this is actually pretty crazy. Even now, this is pretty crazy if you ask me, you know.
Sorry.
You sort of lose track of what really matters, don't you?
Yeah.
I think if you simply, say if you're out, you're on a nice day out, you take a photo, and you take the photo simply for sharing the memory.
Yeah.
And keeping the memory for yourself, because, you know, there's some people out there who might, you know, have memory problems. You don't know that. That's why you take a photo, and so you have a visual reminder of that memory. But if you're instinctively going out there taking photos to feed your social media addiction, you're instinctively going out there to say, oh, people are going to like this, I'm going to take a photo and put it on and see how many likes it gets. You are living in the future, and it's a future you might not like, because you don't know how many basically you're seeking validation that you might not get.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And it's a toxic way of thinking.
I agree with that, definitely.
Yeah, totally. But why are people seeking this attention from people outside of their immediate circle? Why are people taking photos purposely to put it online to draw attention and one thing and another? It's not just for a memory, or it's always, you know, not just for a memory. Why do you think that is?
It's from a lack of satisfaction in your own life.
I was going to say, is it a lack of confidence in yourself from not achieving?
A lack of satisfaction, a lack of confidence.
Yeah.
Why do people feel like that more and more so these days?
I think it all has to do from... Really, today, I think we have an overbalance of emotion in the world, and there's less on the other side of it, which is more geared towards logic. So if we have an overbalance of something, and it's not moving,
yin and yang sort of thing, you need to have a balance.
You need to have a black and white, and I think it's very important for men and women to be as close to that center as possible. I mean, men really have a more leaning towards the logical side, and women more towards the emotional side.
Yeah, the scientific.
But it's very important for both to come to the center as close as possible and work on that balance.
I think, you know, anatomically, you know, what you're saying is absolutely right. You know, men are left-brained more with logic, and women right more with emotion. But what I've seen, and I'm still very young, I'm in my 30s, right? Okay. But what I've noticed only in the last decade is that these things are coming closer together. Actually, to the contrary, whereby females are doing, you know, leading, you know, doing more logically driven jobs, and men, you know, more emotional jobs. I think, you know, looking at everything overarching, you know, why people are, you know, afraid to act in social, you know, real life social situations. You know, people are spending too much time on the phone. People are losing confidence. People are reaching out to people beyond the immediate sort of circles to get comfort or to sort of feel accepted, you know, in society. I think all of these issues are driven by the most intelligent species that we know of, humans. You know, I think that we're not directing our intelligence into the right areas, and I think I've lost my train of thought.
It's fine. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's fine.
I've lost where I was going there.
Sorry, guys, don't worry about it.
I think it's important to realise that, yes, what I was talking about before, the balance is extremely important to have, but there's also the realisation that that both genders have roles in society as well.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you have one side trying to take on the entire spectrum, it can also be, you know, it can be debilitating as well if you don't have that balance. And it's it can be overwhelming. I mean, you've got, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah,
again.
it's fine. Right. Well, with me, I think again, yeah, it's not only, you know, males and females. Everyone's individual, in a way, and you know, there's so many different science studies as well. But the fact is, people are facing the same problems, and you know, I'm doing this to try and reach out to people to say, look, I was in your position. You know, this was something I used to struggle with, certain emotions and stuff, and still have bad days. I'm not going to sit here and lie about that. Of course you do. But I've got to a point now where I've found sort of strategies that fix myself and, you know, work along that. So it's sort of what I'm doing with this is reaching out and guiding people to say, look, you could have problems in your life, you could have situations, but you can't always lean on your problems as a crutch. You need to sort of learn to grow and, don't always assume what everyone else is telling you is correct as well. Got to have your own thoughts and stuff like that and take your own action, you know what I mean?
I totally agree with you, and I think the notion of right and wrong is another driver to people's state of mind, you know, because everything that is deemed right or wrong is it's a socially built
concept. It's a social construct.
Yeah, of course they are, you know, and it differs from culture to culture, region to region, and what, you know, one thing and another. But you know what you're saying about, you know, overcoming things, and you're, you know, happily sharing that with people, your strategies, and I'm sure many people will also benefit from those strategies. But you've hit the nail on the head that everybody is different, and there is no such thing as a masculine way and a feminine way, you know, like we were saying before, and meeting in the middle, you know. But I think what society isn't accepting wholly is that individuality. And if we look at society, there is always trends, okay? Behaviour breeds behaviour. If some celebrity on such a show is starting to wear something, then someone else wears it, and then the next thing everybody's wearing the same sort of clothes. You know, everybody's wearing Tommy Hilfiger. You know, in the 90s, everybody's wearing, you know, one thing and another. But then that goes against the truth, which is the, you know, individuality.
Yeah.
You are who you spend the most time with.
Oh yeah, I believe in that. It's like I'm big
if you're
on
spending the most time with your phone and watching models on Instagram and stuff, you're feeling inferior. It's like,
yeah, that's shocking, isn't it? I think a lot of people don't realise the negative programming they see every day. All the habits in the morning, they'll get up and the first thing you'll do is check your phone, say who has or who hasn't messaged you, which I think can be big. You know, if you want someone to message you or you wanted that like or whatever, then you look at your phone and you've not got it. You instantly feel in the day that you're down, you're already lacking. And why would you start a day with lack? You know what I mean?
It's a downer on your day, isn't it?
Yeah. And then just saying certain sayings that you look through. Me and my friend was talking about this the other day. Saying, you know, sayings you've heard growing up and stuff, and you just repeat them just because it was what, you know, people told you to. I've done one good thing today, so that's my good deed for the day. Well, why would you finish on one good deed? You know, if it's a good deed and you enjoy doing it, why finish on one? Like, it's a strange feeling, but you know.
I think it's very important to try and just discontinue following people who are living a life seemingly that's unrealistic to your expectations, and staying realistic within your own life. I mean, it's not a bad thing to aim for that kind of life, but most of the time, the people that are represented to be living that kind of life, it's very, very small. It's less than 1% of people who are trying to live in that life, and these people who are posting this, it isn't their life.
This is the thing. It's like you can have idols, you can have people you look up to, role models. Definitely, if you want to get somewhere, model someone's behaviour, I believe you can get there, sort of thing. However, if it's sort of you know, maybe celebrities or whatever, is that the full life? Is that the full story? You see celebrities always in rehab. You see, you know, all these tragedies going on, and you know, I'm saying it with a laughter, but it's sort of, it is dead serious. You need to know who you're following. Like, are you following someone that's on the path that you want? Are the people who are telling you to live your life living the life you want? Because if I get someone who is somewhere, you know, they're in debt, they're in a certain situation I wouldn't want, you know, working all the life, and they're telling me, oh, you shouldn't do that. Well, I think, well, you wouldn't do it, so I'm definitely going to do it in a way, you know what I mean?
I think that comes down to choices, and you know, I don't think we should follow people per se, but I think that we can take what's good, you know, from situations or from people's actions, behaviors, and maybe, you know, if we choose to use that, we could use it. And that goes back to, you know, both females and males using the logical mind. We all have that ability, believe it or not, all of us. You know, I'm making choices. Does this really add value to my life?
Big question.
Or does this, what this person's doing and getting a lot of attention for, not add value to my life? In which case, then I can totally disregard it. I don't have to follow this person or act like this person or wear what this person's wearing just because it's part of a trend or whatever. I mean, if I came in this studio today wearing bell bottoms, you know, like in the 60s or whatever, then, you know...
So just enjoy it.
And I know you laughed at my pink shirt, but,
well,
you know...
pink.
I can't pull it off, but yeah, it's a good look. But yeah, it's definitely, and it's not to say you can't hang around with people that have less than you, or you can't, you know, enjoy people's company who, you know, haven't got what you want, sort of thing. It's not about that, but it's just about, you know, being aware of whose information you're taking into your head and learning from. So, you know, certain friends have certain spending habits, and if you start picking up the wrong ones, maybe you're going to end up in debt like them. You know what I mean? Instead of I think that's a problem people face. They just copy everything who the surrounding themselves is doing, rather than saying, well, does this work actually for me? Or should I change it? You know what I mean?
But you have to recognise why the spending habits are like the way they are. Is it based on emotion, or do they actually have enough money to go out and spend it?
Exactly, yeah. That's a... Yeah, definitely a deep question for that individual,
Going out and spending money that they don't have to fill a void that they can't fill. You know, it's... it is a problem, and I've seen it as well. Yeah. It's something that's quite hard to fix unless they recognise it themselves.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Just trying to get that feeling from external things, like whether it's could be shopping, could be gambling, could be, you know, stuff like that. Yeah. That's where it gets deeper and deeper. And I think when people get more honest with themselves and they start looking at, you know, what their actual habits are day to day, day in, day out, is that leading them on the right path? Then they start really realising, oh, I shouldn't be doing this anymore. And you're going to fail. Like, you're going to fall in ways where if you start, you know, people diet and stuff, and you start new habits, you're trying to make them, but then along the way you fall, and you know, that's just practice. That's all that is. So keep going, and I think you can get there if you keep trying. Same as if you go to the gym and that, you got to work a muscle. You know, it gives in every now and then.
I don't really like the word diet. I think it...
Oh, yeah.
I think it implies it's temporary.
Yeah.
I'd like to replace that with lifestyle, really.
Lifestyle
changes rather than diet changes.
Yeah,
I do agree with that. I think, some people form these habits, these habitual patterns without even knowing, without even noticing. Sort of linking back to what I was saying earlier. But it's so hard sometimes to change, even for the better. Yeah. Even if we know that this transition is to make us healthier, you know, it's to make us more at peace with ourselves. Yeah. Change isn't easy. And, you know, there's reasons why change isn't easy. You know, we have to put in a certain degree of effort, you know, in order to go through, you know, the change process. Also, sometimes these habits that we've formed, whether we're gambling every day or whatever, or whether we're sat eating donuts or whatever, anything, you know,
any habit.
These habits then become part of who we are. Yeah. So we identify ourselves by these negative habits, you know, or whatever that may be. Yeah. Now, as soon as somebody, even if it's ourselves, we suggest change to ourselves, by default, and this is subconscious, we're threatening our identity. Or if someone suggests to you, maybe you could, you know, do some fitness things, you know, to improve your health. You know, you've just been diagnosed with high cholesterol or whatever. Although we know it's a positive thing to do to change, subconsciously, our identity of ourselves is threatened, and we will resist naturally. Yeah. Yeah.
I think
there's hurdles that we can't see.
I think we need to look at those two words, so change and transform, because they're completely different. If you look at, you can change your life if you want. You can change it in a positive, or you can change it in a negative way, but you're adding to the same life that you're having. And transforming is completely destroying that old life and bringing in a new one.
But I love what you just said there, Joe. Sorry, you just, you can have change if you want.
Yeah.
And it's the intent as well. I think
is.
that's very big, yeah. I think that's a great little, caption. Sorry, go on, yeah.
No, it's fine. So it's what do you want to achieve, and it's being conscious about it.
Mm-hmm.
And do you like the life that you have? Can you add changes to it, or is it beyond repair, and do you need to transform?
I love it, yeah. Because sometimes you have to go, as bad as it is, you have to go through that struggle where it gets worse and it gets darker before you do overcome. Things will, you'll try a diet or whatever for, some patterns, and the habit will say, no, I don't want this isn't what we usually do. And, mentally it can be it can be tough, you know what I mean? But then eventually you break through and you're like, well, that's not even an issue sort of thing. For me, I feel the biggest thing when you are creating new habits, when you are taking a new journey, when you're taking new risks, obviously safe risks, but new risks, and putting yourself out there, the biggest thing is to know your why. That's what, a lot of people do say this. You've got to know the reason why. And if it's outside of yourself, I'm going to quit smoking for my family, for my kids. I'm going to do this so I can live longer, or create value for someone who's got more than me or less than me. You know that why. You're gonna push yourself harder than ever before, because it's no longer about just you. Even if it is, it's about who you could become as well. And you could sort of be like, well, I'd love to be proud of myself. Yeah. Now imagine being able to write that down, you know what I mean? I've got to somewhere where I'm proud of myself. Yeah. Doesn't matter what people post on your wall, because you go, oh well, you know what I mean? I'm happy now, I know what I'm doing. So I think that's massive.
On that note, because I'm sure there must be somebody out there, probably lots and lots of people out there that will be thinking, but do you know what? I'm at a point in my life now, and I just want to stay here.
Right, okay.
But I'm still having ups and downs. What would you say to them people?
That's great that you've reached where you want to be. You're having ups and downs. That's part of life. Obviously, like life has ups and downs. I'd say sort of realise when it's coming to the downs, realise why you're having them. There's sort of, again, we've talked about habits and thought patterns you can have. That can put you in a bad state. Maybe having more self-confidence to overcome them issues when things do go bad. There's always going to be bad days. There's no, you can't say you're going to have a happy day every day. That's I don't feel that's realistic. But just knowing that, having the confidence you can overcome things, and maybe if you are, you're in a place where your life where you're happy, but you seem to have more down days than, high days, try out a new hobby. Try something new. Try a new adventure. Do something a bit small, that you thought, oh, years ago, I can't do this. Go and try it and see how you do. And if you don't do well, try it a few more times, and then, I'll try something else. And you'll feel like a new, lust for life, sort of. You'll feel like excited by life, I think. What do you think, Joe, on that? Do you think there's anything they could do?
I think it's, again, might come off as a bit harsh with words, but chasing happiness it's gonna lead to ruin. Chasing happiness, because you're chasing a fleeting moment. What is really, I'd say, is if you're going to chase something, chase stability in your life.
I like it. So it's who you become. Really, it's who you become in the process.
Because if you create a stable life for yourself, you create that platform for happiness to remain.
I love it. Well, I had it when I did the boxing, the MMA. I worked so hard. I had this goal in mind, and then I did the luckily won, and then I had my hand raised, and then after that it was sort of just, what now? That's all that came in my head. Just what now?
Yeah.
I think that was.
I think it's also important for everybody to recognise that there'll always be polarities. Oh, yeah. So we can never experience a joyful time or a happy time. It's impossible to experience happiness without depression. I know that bear with me, and or a down time. You can never experience an up without a down. I mean, physiologically we can't do that.
Would you say it's the emotion behind feeling that you're never going to reach that level of happiness again?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, if like you said, if you're chasing happiness, what exactly does happiness look like? Does that mean that
it's relevant to you, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it is. But yeah, I think for those people that do feel down or whatever, or feel stuck in a rut sort of thing, I think the first thing is to to recognize that that's perfectly human and normal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, if we were to be flooded with happiness all of the time, you know, it would kill us ultimately because of the chemicals and the neurotransmitters, and we just couldn't handle that, you know. Again, it goes back to choices, how we choose to perceive these downtimes, and what we choose to do about it after we've asked why, you know, and where is it that I want to go.
Yeah, love it. So I think alongside that, this is a problem I think people face is they'll have joys and they'll have, you know, depression, they'll have ups and downs, and they are trying to escape that in a way. I feel like it's very sort of the tone of the day, you know. You can, you know, obviously talk about things, but everyone's sort of trying to live in the middle where they never have a down period, so they won't take any risks to do something they really want to do and like have that life. They just want to live in the comfy little house with a comfy job, and you know, nothing ever, you know, nothing ever bad happens. That's not realistic. Things are going to happen. So
I think eventually if you live like that, it's going to go one way or the other.
Yeah,
if you leave it to chance, it's going to go one way or the other.
See, I have a thing, I'm quite intense, so I have a thing where if I'm not growing, I feel like I'm dying. But that's just because of, you know, people I listen to and stuff, and I like to grow as a person, learn more. It's only recently I've become this, like, sort of do new experiences, and what does my mind think about this? How do I do this? I think,
so if that's a quite a recent thing,
yes.
What would you say to yourself then before you discovered that by embarking on new journeys and experiences, what would you say to your old self?
If I could go back to myself, I'd say, Pete, you're using too many excuses. You need to start doing what you think about, you know, what makes you happy when you're thinking about it. So when you talk about your friends, oh, we'll go and do this one day, just go and do it. Just book it and do it. Why are you sat there, you know, making excuses up? Yeah, you can work a bit harder, you can get more money, and you stop spending on takeaway. You know, little just steps. And I'd said to him as well, stop putting all this pressure on yourself and start living in the moment, start appreciating what you've got, because it can fall away overnight. So, you know, start doing something that creates value for other people, and then I think value will always be given back to you. I think that's a big thing I'd tell myself.
Definitely living in the present is extremely important.
Extremely
important, because if you're worried about tomorrow, you're just going to think, oh, what about the next day and the next day and after and the day after that, and it just makes you anxious, and that's a root cause of anxiety.
Right. Yeah.
And if you're bothered about the past all the time, if you're thinking about the past, like, oh, this happened and this happened, that's where depression hits in. It's like the opposite ends. So if you're living in the present and filter those two out, that is key to overcoming those two, I think.
I like that. Yeah.
Living in the present.
I love what you said about the past as well. You can't define yourself by the past.
No.
You've got to accept that if you wouldn't do it now, you've changed.
Yeah, really good. Really good. I think living in the present is key, and you know, if you're familiar with mindfulness or meditation, you mentioned it before. It's never easy, is it? You know, it's like
no, it's not.
It's like not going to the gym, or never have gone to the gym before, and then suddenly starting out and thinking that you can do, you know, everything. You know, it takes grit, it takes determination, it takes effort. Takes willpower, and it's the same with that living in the moment as well. We can't expect to suddenly start living in the moment. It's a state of mind, isn't it? We have to sort of reinvent our mindset in a way, I guess.
A guy who comes into my work, he comes in every day, and he said something funny the other day that as he watches the shutters rolling down on his shop, he deletes the memory from that day.
I love it. Yeah,
okay.
There you go. Yeah,
okay.
don't go on with any problems. That's great.
Said it in a more cynical way, but it's sort of like resonate. Actually, that's quite a good idea, because it's like it's his way of staying in the moment.
Yeah, I love that.
The thing is, if we're not in the moment as well, thinking about it, if we're living in the past or the non-existent future, you know, this is all mind-made. Okay, so this is all an illusion. Okay, yesterday you may have you know, studying some dog crap. Okay, that did happen, right? Okay.
Yeah.
But is it happening to you now?
But it's not happening to you now. It's still an illusion. It's a hallucination of your mind. You know, everything that goes on in your mind, even my experience of what is happening now, is in essence a hallucination, because it's my mind's interpretation through my five senses. Okay, so if we can grasp that concept as well, it should if we can, it should help us live in the moment.
It's grounding.
Easier.
It's very, very grounding.
Yeah.
Here's one. If you was someone at home now struggling, you just got this podcast for the first time, you may have anxiety or depression, you're really struggling day to day to go out or to talk to people, to message people. What would be your advice to them, like, just to say, to sort of connect with them? What would you say?
I'd ask, what are you afraid of?
Wow.
Because there's clearly some sense of fear there. And if you're living in fear, you're living on emotion. And it goes back to my point before. Emotion, logic.
Yeah.
Try and find a balance.
And that's a really good question, and I would like to hear some of the answers. I can imagine what some of the answers are. What are you afraid of? Well, I'm afraid of I don't have confidence. I've lost my confidence. I'm afraid to speak to people. It's been a long time, sort of thing. And then that goes back to what I'm saying. Well, that fear, everything exists sort of in your mind. That's the only barrier, your own mind. It's not that you can't speak to people. We're having a discussion right now. It's not that you can't make eye contact. We're doing it right now. But I think what we've got to remember about fear is that's an intrinsic. It's there to protect us.
Yeah.
Our minds are geared and designed to first think negatively. That's what we do. That's how we survived.
Yeah.
And and that's still with us in this day and age. So what could be fear of a social engagement or interaction, really in our mind's processes that that's a real bad thing. By engaging with someone socially and feeling embarrassed, my life is at threat. That's what your mind is saying, and that's
cast out
why
from the village sort of.
But we need to remember that we own our minds. It doesn't own us. And we control our own minds. We don't let it control us. And when we start to do that again, and we start to take back control, we can watch these fears and these illusions just dissolve. And again, it's no easy thing, but if we're somebody that can make a change, say go walking every day to get fitter or something that,
walking's great.
Then why would we not do ourselves a massive favour and do something, for our minds? Take back control.
Yeah, I'll say to anyone at home that's struggling, the first thing I always say is you're not alone. Definitely not. As I said in my book, there is quotes from when I was on my own. I was writing down the journals of what my mind was thinking, what was running through my head. I couldn't contact anyone. I felt alone. You're not. And I know you're thinking, oh, when I contact someone, they're just going to think I'm bugging them. If they value you, you're not bugging them. You know what I mean? They will want to hear from you and they will want to help you. So, try and overcome that fear.
I'd like to touch more back on the social media issue and using Messenger and things like that, because it's still, well, what you said before, it's still extremely new to us. As a species, that we've got this instant communication without having to travel and see anyone anywhere, and it's just it's extraordinary really how quickly that has changed our society. And I don't think as a species that we're really ready for that level of not that it's I lost my train of thought again. Happens sometimes.
I totally get what you're saying, Joe. And as a species, are we ready for that?
It's likened to telepathic communication in a way, because it's like instant. It's like you can in a second be posting what you're seeing and what you're thinking.
Yes, and also brilliant point with this sort of interaction now. We're creating more illusions. This has just sprung to my mind right now, by the way. Now, think about it. We know that at least 80% of human communication is body language. 80%.
And you can't see that behind a screen.
At least. and most of it through facial expression.
Yeah.
Now, if you're reading a message or a comment, or there's a snapshot in time on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, you know, if you're reading that, then your mind tries to interpret the 80%. It must do. It must compute what the meaning is behind those words, behind that text, and behind that image. And then, based on your experiences and the impressions that have happened throughout your life, you will then form a perception of what's really happening. And what could be intended as something harmless could be perceived by yourself as something completely destructive. You know.
I agree with that.
Interpreting the message wrong.
So
yeah,
I don't think we are ready, you know, for things like this. I think, you know, it should be an evolutionary process if we were to do that. But, you know, we could open a big can of worms and ask, well, why are these things made available to us now? You know, yeah.
But that's more industry,
That's
and that's
else.
bigger. Yeah, that's bigger.
Yeah.
But I think, if you're on a journey, if you're stuck, if you're struggling, note down the situations that are making you feel down. If you feel like that sort of presence and stuff, you know, the thoughts that are even coming in your head, write them down and sort of look back at them when you're feeling all right and think, right, this isn't actually how I believe myself. So when they come back next, I'm going to talk to them in a way you've got to talk to yourself, as crazy as that sounds, and say, no, this isn't me. I know we're feeling like this, but maybe my energy's low, maybe I've not slept enough, maybe I've not eaten enough, maybe, you know, you're hungry, people laugh at it, but, you know, there's days where I feel just frustrated, I'm like, and then I get in, I'll have some food, and I'm like, oh, I'm okay, actually. Or I'll feel upset, and then I'll go to bed and wake up thinking, oh, I was just tired, just a long day. So, sort of, find out who you are. That's the biggest question in my book, is who am I? Is, you know, what, are you just your habits? Are you just your past? Or can you create who you want to be? I think that's a big thing.
Yeah, I think you can absolutely create who you want to be, definitely. But it takes, again, recognizing your strengths and weaknesses. It takes mindfulness. It takes just stepping back and looking at your life for what it is now. And again, talking about change and transformation, which one do you want? Do you want to keep the life that you want? Or do you want to transform it completely?
I love it. Yeah.
I think these days as well, you know, we have so much pressures, you know, and sometimes we sort of navigated towards changes that we don't necessarily feel comfortable about. And I'll try and think of an example. Let's look at industry, and I'm sorry for talking about industry again, but it's good. It will lead back to the psych, I promise.
This week on business.
Well, so yeah, we can see, you know, where industry's going. You know, it's going very automated. You know, we've got the rise of artificial intelligence. There were films 20, 30 years ago that sort of predicted bad things happening from artificial intelligence and stuff like this. But if we look at education and stuff, you know, when I ask my children, you know, what do you want to do when you leave school? And some of the things that they tell me, and I'm thinking about the way that the world's going, and I'm thinking,
is that possible?
Will it be possible? Yeah. Will it bring an income? And those people that are more creatively inclined with the mind, more emotionally inclined, may be sort of start to get pigeonholed or forced into careers, roles, what is way out of the comfort zone. You know.
But why? Can I ask, why are we creating AI? Why are we creating artificial intelligence? Is it just for convenience sake? Yeah. Or are we trying to find something that we think human beings are lacking, which we really have?
The balance, sort of like something. Yeah, maybe we're so overwhelmed by our feelings, our emotions, our thingy. We want something that can run us in a way where we have no responsibility.
Do we want that?
I don't. I like my responsibility. I like taking action, but I think a lot of people do. I think they like being told what to do because it gives them a path to be on rather than lost. Which, yeah, I don't trust AI because of Terminator, but, you know, who knows?
Are we creating an AI to serve us, though? Because that seems to be the way it's going, rather than an AI to be controlling us. But who knows if a machine can think for itself? It could do it either or.
It'd just leave. I think it'd just right.
I think I'd leave as well.
Go Spain. So, yeah, as I said, I think if you're stuck, if you're down, look at your habits. Do something physical, because that, you know, scientifically releases the chemicals in your brain. Go to the gym. Doesn't matter. You don't have to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. Go to the gym. It helps, but, you know, just go and enjoy yourself. You know what I mean? Watch what you eat, because, you know, chemicals and stuff, and watch what you think. That's the main thing for me. That was my thought patterns were just, he's got this, they've got that, why have I got this? I deserve this, a big one. Entitlement. I think that's a problem these days. I should have this. Well, what have you done to get it? Well, nothing, but I deserve it.
I think physical exercise as well is, it's again, because when you're exercising, when you're running or when you're lifting weights and stuff, it's that meditative state again.
Yeah.
Your mind is clear.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, something that needs to be realized as well, is that clear-mindedness while you're exercising as well. It's not just good for your body, it's good for your mind as well.
The zone. Yeah, that's
zone.
what I talk about.
Zone.
The zone.
There are many strategies. You know, exercise is excellent. You know, something that I've done pretty recently, or I started to do, is stop looking outside, stop benchmarking against other people, stop looking at what other people have got. I mean, I don't do Facebook. There's one platform that I use.
Hi, Facebook. How you doing?
Sorry, Facebook. But anyway, start to look inside. So stop looking outside and look inside. Look at yourself. Find out who you are. Yeah. Identify your own ego. I think the most liberating thing that anybody can do is identify your own ego, because it's that ego that is being envious. You know, it's that ego that is questioning myself. You know, do I fit? I believe there's two people in everybody. Okay, there's the ego, which is the mind, the superficial mind, which has been influenced from the moment you're born, through education, through your parenting, through your peer group, etc.
It's the mask that you wear.
Ooh.
Exactly, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant way to put it. It is the mask that you wear. But there's also the pure person that's inside, the one, the one that is relaxed, is composed, the one that doesn't get worked up about social situations, you know, the one that isn't envious of other people, the one that appreciates life for what it is and not what's in it. Yeah. Life, the essence of life itself. And I think the most liberating thing that anybody could do is to identify one's own ego.
I love that. Yeah. Sort of
starve the ego, feed the soul.
I'm just going to get a quote board for Joe, because he's killing it.
Yeah,
he's amazing. He's great.
I'm keeping mental notes of all
He's
these.
Amazing. Oh my God, all day.
I think it was yourself, Pete. You mentioned earlier about watching your thoughts, but not in the context that I was thinking, and that's another thing. Right. I think if you can learn to be the watcher of your thoughts as well, and I know this is part of mindfulness, I think, if you can learn to be the observer of your own thoughts, again, that is so powerful. Yeah. Because then you start to realize that, what the hell are you thinking about? Rather than getting trapped in it, you know, it's like listening to somebody else who's been totally negative or fearful of something which is quite irrational, you know.
What story are you telling yourself?
Yeah, I'm not saying sit there having a full-blown conversation with yourself. No, I'm right. No, you're right. No, you know, sort of thing.
You can do, you know.
But just watch your own thinking. Yeah, it's really powerful as well.
You'll realise soon when I started doing that, and you realise very quickly, why am I thinking that? And it's very, it's sometimes you pick it up along the way, or it's just what it's how I've always been. Have you heard people say that? Why are you doing this that you don't like? It's how I've always been. Well, you can take control of that, you know, you can change. And they're like, no, I can't. It's how I've always been. It's how they come back, and
that's
it's like, wow.
Einstein's definition of insanity, by the way. To do the same thing every single day and expect a different result. Yeah, it's the way I've always been. Well, don't expect to get out of the rut then.
Yeah, it's incredibly. It's likened to everyone's seen The Matrix, haven't they?
Yeah,
stuck in the Matrix, not waking up. It's like, you take the blue pill, you take the red pill. Which one do you take? Red pill, you wake up. Blue pill, you stay in your own little world that you've created for yourself. But is that really benefiting you?
I like it, yeah. But again, you can be content, you can be happy with your life, you can enjoy it. But then again, are you are you stuck?
Exactly, that's the question. Are you?
Are you? Yeah.
Or are you living in your own illusion?
Is it?
Like you were talking about illusions before.
I like that. If there's any artist out there who wants to do as a painting of that, that'd be cool. Like an illusion painting versus life. I think that'd be quite cool.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So get involved. But yeah, it's a very interesting concept, looking at life at more if you're in control of it, if you can, you know, where you are right now, the circumstances you have, they don't define you. There's no two ways about it. You know, you can change in an instant. Things can change in an instant. You know what I mean? This is one of the things I've learned from, you know, being broke and everything was in a mess. And then I got this weird, like, sort of, not a faith, but, you know, something just, I followed what I thought was right, and then things changed for me overnight. You know what I mean? It was literally that fast. And because of that, you don't let your current circumstances, your current fears, your current issues you have control who you are, control how you act to other people or how you talk to yourself. That's ridiculous, you know what I mean?
I think it's very important to keep hold of that as well. To keep hold of that sense of self, who you are, and not divert it away. Don't lose focus on that. Because once you do, that's when things start going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important to stay aware of who you are in the present moment.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I love that. So what would you say, Joe, to someone who's never really looked into being present, if you will, if they're just always, you know, this day, that day, this day? What would you find? Or did you find a way that yourself, where you just sort of woke up and said, well...
Both, really. I think I realised one day, because I used to be stuck a lot in my own past, and then all of a sudden I just thought, well, what's there that's so interesting? What's there that's so interesting that's not here and interesting?
I like that. Yeah.
Or something in the future. Yeah, it could happen. And it's good to have goals as well.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. It's really important to have goals. But it's what is here right now is enough.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the way I started thinking. And ever since then, I think my life's improved drastically.
Excellent.
Definitely.
Interesting there, Joe. You said you realised that you were stuck in your past. At that time, did you feel like only you was stuck into your past? Bear with me. Or did you feel like that you and everybody else in your past was stuck in your past? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, I do. I do get that. And again, that can kind of come from it's worrying about what other people think as well. So if you're thinking that, other people must be thinking it.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily the case. People move on. Some people don't. But again, that is part of their life. That's part of their issues. And so it's again, it's all coming back to being aware of you don't control anyone else's life.
Perfect.
You're in control of your life, and you can change anything you want about it if you want to. And it's just maintaining that awareness, and keeping hold of it. And when you do that, and when you start being mindful about every action that you take, every word that you take, every word that you speak, it's liberating, and it undoubtedly improves your life. I can't put it any other way, really.
No, it's perfect. Yeah.
Nice one, Joe. But by answering that question, the reason I asked that question, and I expected to hear that answer, it was about other people as well, and what they thought, and but that then goes back and it reinforces the point that what exists in our mind is in our mind. It's what's in my mind now is not in your mind, Pete. It's not in your minds at home. It's in my mind, and just as when you were stuck in that place, that was in your mind, but your understanding was that could be existing in other people's minds as well. But that's impossible. That it's totally impossible. I mean, just like my experience of this situation right now is completely different. Even though we're in the same situation, our experiences of it are completely different. And I guess what happened to you was that realization that hang on a minute, this is my barrier. My mind is my barrier. And by thinking, you know what, I'm not going to live in that past. You're not really living in the past. you've come up against that mental barrier, which is causing you to believe that you're
swamped by the illusions of your past.
Yeah.
I like that, the illusions. Yeah. I think a big question with that is with the illusions that you faced with of the past that are defining you, that you know, as I said, the circumstances don't define you. Is when did you give up on yourself? You know, when did you say that you couldn't achieve the things you wanted to achieve? As I set big goals, but you know they are reachable and stuff. You know. But at the same time, it is, when did you give up on yourself? Because a lot of people I've spoken to, I'll ask them goals and they'll say, I'd love this to happen. And then they don't believe it for themselves.
I don't think there's any single moment that you can give up on yourself. I think it's a daily thing. Because every day you have a chance to change that. Perfect. Yeah, I think that's great. There's no single defining moment where you go, right, I'm going to go down here now and I'm going to stay there. It's every day. It's every day. And every day you have a chance to change it.
I love it.
Yeah, I agree. Totally. Yeah. Brilliant.
Awesome, leaves you speechless, Jordan. Everything's like, that's deep. That's so deep. I love it. Yeah, that's great. But I think, there's just so many. It seems to be people, again, taught themselves into it. You're saying it's a step-by-step process. They taught themselves out of what they love. You know, how crazy is that when you think about it? And when did that childlike mind go away? When did you stop thinking that things could happen? You know, things happen just off a whim all the time. You know, meet people all the time just off this and that. Weird coincidences can happen that can change your life in an instant. Maybe it's time to, you know, look back and replan things that you sort of give up on in the past. You know what I mean? Maybe it's time to say, you know what, I think I'll give that a try. Yeah. If I fail, then I give it a try.
You've not failed if you've tried, have you?
No, exactly. You've got an experience, and then you can even try something and not like it and go, well, I'll try something else because this isn't any good.
You can say you gave it a go.
Yeah. I give ice skating a go. It didn't end very well, but that was, you know.
I think a lot of people struggle with that on the first time.
I've seen your yoga, Pete.
Oh, my God. Yeah. I've been going a while
I want to see you ice skating.
Shocking. But yeah.
Only joking is brilliant, really.
I'm not. Do you have any advice for people at home now who's watching this who said, you know, they're just in that, they're lost in that, you know, day to day, stuck in a habit of, you know, just nothing's happening, nothing exciting's happening? Do you have anything to guide them?
What defines excitement in someone's life is again, it's their own, their own perception of, you know. Do you need excitement?
The first question would have to be asked, I guess, to yourself. I'm not having anything exciting in my life, you know. So, yeah.
So if you want more excitement in your life, then do something to change it.
There you go. Make some bread.
Yeah.
No, honestly, little things. It doesn't have to be a huge mountain to climb. It can be, you know what, I made this painting today. I made this. I gave someone this that, you know, I didn't think I could give away. And
yeah.
Little things.
Here's someone's definition of excitement is, go and plan a trip, then plan the trip.
Yeah. Just do it.
Just do it. Just don't. Again, it's going back to the fear of, can I actually do it? Do I have the time to do it? And it's like, again, you're living based in fear. Are you actually going to do what you want to do? Are you actually going to go? Do you want to take that trip? Take the trip. Just don't even think, just book it.
That's the best course of action I've found with a lot of things is obviously risk involvement, but at the same time it's sort of, you've got to jump, you know, and take the leap. You got to take a risk every now and then.
You can ruminate as much as you want, but it doesn't get you anywhere. Exactly.
Yeah, and if you take a leap and if things go wrong along the way, you're going to grow from it and you're going to become used to problem solving. I think that's one thing I've become over time. I'm more confident because I've done things that I failed at, and now I'm like, right, I know I can fail and I know how to problem solve very quickly. Which again, you know, can seem quite intense sometimes because we're like, no, do this instead, and people are like, whoa, that's very quick. And I was like, no, I'm used to making decisions.
Exactly.
Like,
it takes practice as well. So when you start doing it, you start becoming more proficient. It's like practice makes perfect, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's also anything to do with your mind as well, like mental training.
Awesome. So, is there anything you wanna you guys are working on? Any goals you've set for yourself? Maybe anything that you've struggled with, or recently, or you've said, you know what, I'm gonna do this. Is that sort of to show they're not alone in setting goals. They're not alone in taking action on their own life. You know what I mean?
I guess it depends on whether you want those goals to involve other people as well. I mean,
oh yeah.
Um,
I've luckily got you two in today, so that's
yeah.
yeah.
There we go.
Cheers, Pete.
Oh, cheers, guys.
An interesting point is: are you building a life that's based on someone else as well? Are you planning on them having them in your life? Do you see them in your future? That's very risky as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know who's going to be here today and who's going to be here tomorrow. You don't know that, and I think it's very important to plan for yourself first. I mean, plan for yourself first, of a second, no matter how important they are to you as well. If you have a partner, you don't know if they're going to be here tomorrow. You don't know. They could up and leave. Same for anyone, really.
I think that's massive, because a lot of people lose partners or friendships, and that ruins them. And it's like, if you already knew your path, or in a way, or who you were confidently, who am I sort of question, when they go, you've still got that steady mind to, yes, they've gone, it's a different situation, but I'm still me, and I've still got the confidence to do it.
You're building foundations with someone else's bricks, so they're going to come back and go, hang on, those are mine. And go, right, I'm taking those back now. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's, you have to do it by yourself first, and then if people want to come along, enjoy the foundations that you've built. Yeah. That's brilliant. And that's what everyone should really strive for, because no one wants to be alone in this life, do they? No, nobody wants to be, but at the same time, you've got to build that foundation for yourself, and it has to be yours. It has to be yours. Yeah.
And then the bricks have to fit the footprint of the foundation, I guess. Yeah. But no, I think that's really cool, and it marries in with the advice that I'm going to give as well. I think, again, like I said before, look inwards, look at yourself. Who are you? Identify yourself first. Forget the ideals, that are out there. I think we, from nursery, we're reading about the prince meets the princess and fall in love happily ever after. And already we're being nurtured, to believe that, this is the way in life, and one thing and another. So we sort of put ourselves under pressure to meet that ideal. Yeah. But I think what you've said is really good, because if we're focusing on ourselves and we're building our foundations, then by nature, then the shoe will fit, so to speak. You
build the kingdom, people are going to come to it.
But we can only do that if we sort of, again, look inward. Stop looking at other people.
We're coming close to the end of the episode, guys, which has been an excellent episode. Have you got any closing notes? Because I'm dead excited to get this out, and it's my first one, so. Have you got any closing things to say, or even talk about yourself for a bit, something?
I think a closing note would be to people who are really struggling with anxiety and depression, is try to look more at your life logically rather than emotionally. Recognize those emotions that are really drowning you out, and try to, again, just going back to the point, try to find the balance in your life, because I think that's really important, really important to recognize. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah. Well, any finishing notes for yourself?
Yeah, I'll just expand on what you said, Joe. I think our emotions, the crucial part of us as humans. They help us interact, they help us experience life in the way that we do, but they can also be very destructive. If we can't manage our own emotions, then they are as destructive as they are pleasurable. Yeah. Again, that's no easy task, but I guess one step towards being able to do that would be just to ask yourself the question, in a time of crisis or a time of depression or something like that. Just ask yourself, logically, why do I feel like this? And is it adding value to my life feeling like this, or are there steps that I can take to change the way that I feel? Using my logical mind, can I sort of say to myself that this is the right thing to do, instead of getting bogged down in the emotions.
That's what I talk about a lot, setting strategies and sort of realizing what you're thinking about in the book. It's mainly that, and then my own story as well as, you know, inspirational quotes and stuff, people who've done it, people who've overcome. A lot of it in the mind is taking control of the mind. You know, you've got to know what you're thinking about, what you're focusing on is what you become. You know, they always say that, you know what I mean? What you focus on is what you become. So I really believe in that.
And also let's remember that the mind's like a sponge, and everything that we experience from birth to the present day sort of thing, our mind has either consciously or subconsciously taken that in.
Yeah.
But we do have the power to reinvent ourselves, to change the way our mind works. We just need to commit ourselves to it.
There you go.
So if you want it, you can do it.
So there you go. Potential, thought to execution. This is our first podcast on that. Hope you all enjoyed. Yeah.
Thanks, Pete.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Love it.
Thank you all.
Yes.